Good morning, everyone. Welcome to section 5.1 from our new chapter, chapter 5, which is our sports and leisure. This unit's kind of cool because a lot of it is pretty hands-on and you are going to have to do a little bit of activity in order to complete some of the math. So let's start with 5.1. There is a warm-up here. You should be able to complete it on your own. Ask someone at home if you're struggling. It is a lot of review from the other chapters. So it's a good way to refresh your skills before we start. We are going to be using quite a few fractions and ratios throughout the unit, so I want to do a quick refresher. We are going to look at the skills practice. Make sure you're trying this as well. So a ratio is really just comparing two items or two values. So we can, and it's not so much the values that we're looking at comparing, it's the fact that we can simplify them and bring them down into different terms. So there's something called an equivalent ratio or an equivalent fraction. Whenever you have a ratio, you can write it as a fraction. So a ratio might be 1 to 2, but we can double those and make it 2 to 4. So as long as you're doubling both values, you're allowed to do that. So for example, we've got a few of them here. And I want you to fill all of them out on your own. If I am looking at a ratio of 1 to 8, you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 items in total. So for every one colored item, there are 8 non-colored items. So here they talk about coaches and campers. So for every one coach, there are 8 campers. And we would write that as a 1 to 8. So they want you to look at what happens if we have 2 rows. So if I were to have 2 coaches, I could have hopefully 16 coaches. There it is. Oops. There we go, 16. If there were 3 coaches, you could imagine 3 rows, then we should have another 8 different campers, okay? So we should have 24, okay? I want you to go down to see what would happen is if you had 4 coaches and 5 coaches. Moving on to question 2, they did the same idea, but with colored squares and light squares. So this right here could be a 2 to 1 ratio for the simple one, and that, if you look at a larger value, is equal to 4 to 2. And again, you'll notice that both values were doubled, okay? Try the next one on your own. You don't have to worry about question 3. And then when we get to questions 4, 5, and 6, we start looking at fractions. I do actually want you to do question 6 first because we're still talking about ratios. So it says circle the 3 equivalent ratios. Find the ratios that are identical, and there should be 3 of them, and you can circle those, okay? At the end, maybe write a quick little sentence about why you know. For question numbers 4 and 5, or 4 and 5, you're looking at the same idea, but instead of ratios, they've written it in fraction form. So here I have a 1/2 fraction, and if I multiply both or double both, I should get 2 to 4, or 2/4. Here, if I have 2/4, I should get 4/8, because I've doubled 2 and I've doubled 4, okay? You try the next one with 1/3, and you're multiplying them by 3. You should be able now to do question 5 on your own, so give that a shot. When you're done, remember guys, pause the videos whenever you need, and then you can move on to the next section. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to finish those up. We're going to take a quick look at rates. They're very similar to ratios where they compare 2 values, except rates have units. You see one of them all the time when you drive in the car. That would be kilometers per hour. It's a speed. If you're really good at typing on the computer, you would look at something as words per minute. It's called WPM. Last unit, we did another couple where we looked at a price. Maybe we looked at the dollars per 100 grams when we were looking at unit price, okay, 100 grams. If you've ever done any exercise, you've done beats per minute. This is pretty tough to type. There we go, beats per minute. And that would be your heart rate. So see if you can come up with one more on your own. Okay, so what we want to look at today is how your breathing rate changes when you exercise. So I'm going to read you through just the first little activity, and then you have to complete the rest of your section on your own. If you're having trouble reading, just ask mom or dad or someone to help you out. So I want you to guess how many breaths you take in 1 minute. Okay, ready? Okay, that's one breath. And I exaggerated so you could see it. So maybe take a guess at how many times you would take a breath in a minute. What you're going to do at the bottom, and actually count it out, you are going to complete the table here. So you're going to have to do some exercises. Complete the chart as you do an activity shown below. Each time you count your breaths for 1 minute, record your count. So the first thing that I want you to do is just rest. And as soon as get your timer ready or your stopwatch on your phone and count how many times you breathe in 1 minute. Put the number there. That would be the number of breaths per minute. So if I took 50 breaths, let's say, actually that's a lot, but that's okay. Let's say I took 50 breaths. My breathing rate is 50 breaths per minute. Then what I would like you to do is exercise. You are exercising, and then exercise for 5 minutes. Then I want you to wait for 2 minutes and then count for a minute. Okay, count your breaths for a minute. So you're exercising, you can do something. If you're good at running, you can run. If you want to jog on the spot, you can do jumping jacks, you can skip rope, do something active for 5 minutes. Maybe you know how to do something, a burpee, any kind of aerobic exercise that you can think of. So exercise for 5 minutes, stop. After 2 minutes, count your breathing for a minute. Then you're gonna exercise, you're gonna finish resting, there you go, so stop, count, then you're gonna rest for 5 minutes, and then you should exercise again, count, rest again. After 2 minutes, you're going to count for 1 minute, rest again after 4 minutes, count for 1 minute. Okay, so do your best here. Okay, so you're only exercising twice. Do your best, follow the chart, and then answer the rest of the questions for the rest of the section. You are going to be looking at walking rates, so you're going to have to go for a walk today and do your best to answer the bottom ones. Okay, don't worry about the skills practice at the bottom. We can do that another time. Guys, have a great day. We'll see you in the next